This is episode 155 of the Beyond the Food Show, and today we're going to talk about why we get stuck and what the heck can we do about it. So if you're someone who's watching from the sideline right now, this is for you. Stay tuned. My name is Stephanie Dodier, clinical nutritionist. I reversed my diagnosis of anxiety, depression, adrenal fatigue, and obesity by going beyond the food. I can tell you one thing, that willpower, discipline, and deprivation aren't the permanent solution to transforming your relationship to food. So how do you leave overeating, emotional eating, food craving, and binging behind you so you have the food freedom to achieve all of your goal and be happy now? As a top 25 alternative health podcast in the world, this is the Beyond the Food Show. I have created an audio training entitled How to Change Any Eating Habit, specifically the one that is sabotaging you. 3 strategies to create the consistency and confidence you need to change your eating habit without willpower or discipline. I did this in order to help women like yourself engage with food in a completely different perspective so that they stop craving, overeating, binging, and using food to feel better. You can put an end to the cycle of frustration, the all or nothing mindset, and shame towards your own body and become a motivated, consistent, focused, and self-loving version of yourself. This free audio training is about the why we eat, how we eat, so that the what we eat can be easy, effortless, and pleasurable. So if you are ready to step into the new version of yourself so that you can change how you interact with food, head over to stephaniedodier.com/training right now. Hello, ladies. Stephanie Dodier here, and today is a very special episode because it's an episode that I think has the potential of giving a good portion of you that are watching from the sideline just enough inspiration to move forward. Plus, I've got a big announcement. Something that I've been talking here and there on social media, for those that follow me, particularly on Instagram, but to you, my huge community of the podcast, my most loyal fan, I have not talked to you about it yet. So stay tuned and we're going to talk about that. This episode comes, and today we're September the 12th, so we're Wednesday, and it's coming at the tail end of the registration period for the Going to Beyond the Food Academy for the last time in 2018. We've welcomed our student. And if you're following me on Instagram, you're starting to see some of the, already after 2 days, some of the realization and the progress of some of our students. But what I wanted this episode to be today is not for my student. This episode is for you that are listening to the podcast very frequently, that have been following me for a long time, but you're standing on the sideline and you feel stuck. You are the one who reached out to me on Instagram many times and says, how do I get started? You're the one who haven't reached out to me on social media and maybe is in a state of depression because you hear all this great information, but you cannot get started. Or you're the one who want to get started, but you keep just self-sabotaging yourself. You're on the sideline. You haven't yet taken action. You're not my client. You're not a student. You are just watching, saying, yeah, that makes sense, but I cannot get started. So this episode is for you. It's going to help you understand why you're stuck and what you can do to unstuck yourself. I don't think that's a proper language, but I'm French, so I'm going with it. So before we get into this is the big announcement part. We have officially, as of right now today, opened the registration for our online conference. Can I have some yay? So the Going to Beyond the Food Project 2.0 is now live for registration. So for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that last year I put together an online conference with 22 speakers last year. And we talked about what does it mean to go beyond the food. And I interviewed people from all walks of life about what it meant in their world, from doctors to functional medicine practitioner to energy worker to psychiatrist to researcher. And we dug into their world and how they are going beyond the food in their world, where we're putting it back together again this year because it had so much impact on many of you. So here's the details. This is an online conference, the same way as you would go to a conference locally, right? A Saturday and a Sunday conference where you would pay a fee to get into the door, and then you would see people talking, and there'd be back-to-back speaker, Saturday, Sunday, and then you would walk away completely overwhelmed. Been there, done that? I've been. So online allows me to do it a little bit differently. So first of all, it starts October 8th and it ends October 19th. So it gives you 10 days to watch, listen, digest the 21 speaker and their teaching, because that's one of my demands from them. They have to teach you something. You get 48 hours to watch it for free. There is no admission costs to this online conference. Can I have a yay? I want some clapping here. I'm alone in my studio right now, but I want you to be happy with that. It's totally free. So there will be a link in the show notes, right? Stephanie Dodier /155, or directly on your iPhone. If you're a iPhone person, you can go and register, give me your first name, your email, and you will get a seat saved. Last year, we had 4,000 women attending this conference. Isn't it cool? We have all kinds of extraordinary speakers this year. This is people that in the last 12 months I've interacted with personally, either through trainings, through conferences. So there's a mixture of people you know probably very well, and there's some people you don't know, because these are the gems that I find as I travel the world and go to different conferences or do speaking engagement, and I meet those people. One of them being Bitten Johnson. She's a Swedish woman, the cutest little thing, and she talks about food addiction from a different perspective. Then there's Matt Gasper that I met in California just a few months ago, and he's going to do a talk on how to transform ourselves without having to hit rock bottom. Then there's a longtime friend of mine, Rosa Rago, who's going to do a workshop on intuitive movement. Dr. Joanne Rosenberg, she's a mentor of mine, and she's a psychologist and a therapist who's developed a 90-second method to process our emotion. Then there's Dr. Debbie Silver, this one on betrayal. And what is the impact of betrayal into our day-to-day life and our relationship to food? So there's plenty more. There's also the rock star like the Bridget Danner, the Leanne Vogel, the Sean Miner, the Irene Lyon that are coming back for a second year, because these were the top speaker from last year that you voted that you love, for those who attended. So go register yourself. You can also go to the website, Going Beyond the Food Project, or stephaniedodier.com/register. You'll hear more of me talking about that in the next 4 weeks, but save your seats, and I hope to see you there, and share. Remember, I always say at the end of the podcast, we have to share this. This is a grassroots movement. We are going against all the established standard of the weight loss in the fitness industry. This is not going to make the top line of the New York Times to help me promote this event. We have to band together and share it. So share it on your social media, send it to your friends to get the word out. That was the big announcement. So again, I'm going to come back to the purpose of today's episode, which is being stuck and and it's going to you. So I'm going to go through transformation change stages. This is scientific information that is based on research. And I'm going to go through 6 stages of change. And I'm going to help you determine where you are on those stages and then what you can do to move to the next stage, right? Because that's how changes and transformation happen, is when we move from where we are to where we want to be. So I'm going to give you this and forewarn you that most of you are in stage 2, 3, and 4. So listen carefully, assess yourself, and then DM me on social media to tell me which stage you're at. So here we go. Here's the 6 stages of transformation. Now, I've learned this 15 years ago. Yes, I'm old. I'm 43 years old, and I'm very proud of it. But I've been coaching professionally for 15 years in different businesses, but I've learned this 15 years ago. And this is based on the research by James Prochaska and Carlo Di Clemente back in the 1970s. And it's called bear with me, the stages of change or trans-theoretical model. I'm French, remember. So here's the 6 stages. Stage number 1 is pre-contemplation. Stage number 2 is contemplation. Stage number 3 is preparation. Stage number 4 is action. Stage number 5 is maintenance. And stage number 6 is relapse. Now, I disagree with stage 6, but we'll keep that for later. In this model, changes happen gradually, and relapse are an inevitable part of the process. There is unwillingness and resistance that prevents you from moving from one stage to the other. All the solution for you to move from one stage of transformation to the next, to unstuck yourself, are completely up to you. So you have to start with this assumption in this model and agree with that. If you don't agree with that, you're still at the first stage, by the way. But all the solutions are within yourself. Today, the podcast is going to focus on stage 1 to 4, because that's where 99% of you are as my listener. And we'll leave stage 5 and 6, the end, for another episode or within my paid program, because these are people who are actually in the process of transformation. So let's detail stage number 1, pre-contemplation. Now, the good news is I'm pretty sure that no one listening to the podcast is in stage 1, which is called pre-contemplation. You know why? Because people that are in stage 1 of transformation do not consider a change. So these are the people who are not even considering they need to change their dieting behavior. People who believe that over-exercising is the solution and they're happy doing that and they think we're crazy. So I don't think any of us here, because these people are in denial. So I don't think any of you is in denial or not considering a change, or these are the people that are completely resigned. They don't even listen to the podcast because they think they're so broken, nothing will ever change. So if you know people that are at that place, like that have either completely given up or even not considering anything, there's really nothing you can do, because they have to accept this information, or they have to accept that they actually can change for that to happen. But if you want to kind of spark them, maybe that's your daughter, maybe that's your sister, somebody that you really love that needs this type of information we're giving here, one of the great places to start is my 4 foundation article. So in the terminology of online marketing, we call that cornerstone article, but these are the basic articles. So they're right on the front page of my website. So there's one on ditching the diet mindset, so anything to do with mine. Then there's another one that is about what is self-sabotage, explains the whole concept. Then there's another one that's all about what is emotional eating and how to overcome it. And then the last one is all about food cravings. So I call them my 4 foundational article. You can go to my website. You'll see them. They're right at the bottom in big aqua color boxes. Or if you go to the show note, you'll see them listed there. So you can take that link, suggest to your friend that is at stage 1 to read those articles. That's about all we can do with those people. Pushing them is not going to get us anywhere. Stage 2 of transformation is contemplation. So some of you are there. You're more and more aware that there's something to change, and you're more and more aware of the potential benefit of changing. But the cost of change is holding you back. Now, when I talk about cost, I talk about money, but I also talk about the emotional cost, the spiritual cost, the mental cost. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to episode 151. And I go through the cost of change. Like, it's an episode just on that. So in stage 2 contemplation, you see the benefit. You're thinking maybe it's a good thing to do it, but you're saying, it's costing too much. I can't do it. So there's a conflict within you. One part of you says, yeah, you should do it. The other part says, no, you can't because it costs too much. Based on my clinical observation and the study from the guy who created this model, there's a lot of people there. Like, majority of people are there. They watch from the sideline and they're in so much fear of what could potentially go wrong that they don't end up doing anything. So these are the people that have been on my email list for, well, I've built an email list back. I started in 2015. I have some people who read my email since 2015, but they've never taken a step towards action. They just read. And it's been 3.5 years. So these are that type of people. They just watch. So what can you do if you're there to get you unstuck? You need inspiration. You need to listen to the podcast. You need to reach out to someone in your life to give you this inspiration and be transparent about your fear, right? So those are the people that I did 101 with before the academy opened to get through their fear. And is it true fear or is it just self-sabotage? So you need someone that's going to do that with you. And you need to gain more information to convince yourself that there's more benefit. So what can you do in my world? Yes, you can read the article we talked about before, but you could also come to some of my workshop, right? Have you come to any of my workshops? So there is one, again, that's going to come out next week. The Food Freedom Map. It's about 45 minutes of teaching. It's going to happen on September the 19th. All the links are in the show note. It's totally free. It's 4 steps to overcome emotional eating. So come and learn the science, come and learn the fact, and maybe that's going to tune down your fear, or come to the Going to Beyond the Food project, right? Make sure you watch all the talk and understand everything. And again, that's going to help you move to the next change, the next stage of change. So now we go from contemplation, which is stage 2. You're like conflicted between the benefit and the cost. Stage 3, you got over the cost thing. You're preparing. You started to make small changes to prepare for the bigger changes, right? So you're the one who listens to all the podcasts for a while. You're the one who comes to all the workshop. You're the one who reads article. You're the one who's starting to make some of the change in my free content, right? And you're starting to implement those small things, but you're still afraid. So this is the time where we need to talk about courage. And this, again, a misconception that many of us have. We're standing there, we are 100% sure that the work and my method, like looking at our emotion, is the solution. We don't need convincing anymore, but we're afraid because we don't know what we're going to find on the other side. And we let the fear rule our life. Here's the thing. Courage is not the absence of fear. Rather, the assessment that something is more important than the fear you're feeling. Courage is not the absence of fear, but instead is acting in spite of fear. That's a quote from Mark Twain, by the way. This is where a lot of yous are. You have fears of failure, fear of not being the right timing, fear of not having enough time, fear of not having enough money. Like, I talked to someone that wanted to register for the academy, and maybe she's listening, she's going to recognize herself. She had a fear of not having enough money. So we went through the question, like, if you pay for the academy, you're going to lose your house. No. Are you going to be able to put food on the table? Yeah. Are you going to be able to pay your bill? Yeah. So what are you fearing again? Right? So fear. So really wrap your head. If you're in that stage right now, it's not about getting more information. It's about wrapping your head around the fact that fear will never go away. You just need to keep moving forward, although you're anxious and afraid of the outcome. You still can't come to my workshop next week, the Food Freedom Map. You still can come to the project, but your work is about overcoming the concept that fear stops you. Stage number 4. Stage number 4 is action. So this is where the fear is no longer there. You've moved forward. You realize there's a lot of things about yourself you need to discover to heal your relationship to food and your body, and you're ready. You're taking direct action. You're not researching anymore. You're actually committed, engaged, learning, and taking action. So these are the people that are in my paid program. These are the people that do coaching. These are the people that actually are changing because they are in a structure, in a framework. They're committed to making the changes towards the goals that they're having. If you're there, if you're one of my students, you're listening, here's what I want to say to you. Don't expect perfection. Don't expect quick fixes. This is weeks and months of years of work, right? Fun continue as you do the work, but don't expect you're going to have it figured out in 2 weeks, right? I'm very clear in that in all my program. It may be a 21-day program, but this is skills you've now learned that you need to apply for it to rewire your mind, right? Now, onto that, to help you for either the people that are like on the edge of moving to action or people that have just begun the action piece and you still seeking like, when is that going to get fixed? Or I have to get it perfect the first time. I want to run a testimonial from one of my students. Her name is Jackie. And she's in stage 4. She's in action. Jackie's actually been a client of mine for 4 years. So we worked together 3.5 years ago. Then she kept being on my list, right? And then all of a sudden she came back to my world recently and said, okay, I'm ready for the next step now. So she took my program called Claim Your Food Freedom. For those of you who are visual, you can go to the show note and see the actual video of me interviewing her. But right now, we're just going to run the audio clip. The quality of the sound is iffy, but the value you're going to get into listening to her being in her action stage and the outcome and the difficulty as well is very valuable to get you unstuck. So let's roll Jackie's testimonial. So thank you very much, Jackie, for being with us today. Jackie is a student of Claim Your Food Freedom program. She completed it a week ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to bring her on here for her to share her experience of this program. It's a program that she paid for. She did on her own. And I wanted to share her experience with you guys. And so I'll let her speak. So let's get started, Jackie. How was your experience?
I might have mentioned in a Facebook post on one of your sites. It was such a solid step forward for me on learning how my brain works with emotional eating. because for the longest time, I just thought I had no willpower and that I was kind of a failure and everything I did didn't work and it was all because of me. But I think it was just my body trying to survive because for me, the stress of my work and the stress of my life kind of made me very unhappy. So food definitely became a big pleasure zone for me. And that's how I got through a lot of emotional crises. So I think the biggest thing after realizing that, there is a biological thing that's happening here is that I was able to finally become consciously aware and listen to my body and the messages it's telling me. So I think you had a lesson on, it was feel, not flight. I can't remember what module it was. That was so huge for me because I'm a flight girl as it is during trauma or anything anxious, right? So to feel and not flight, it was like, whoa, that's exactly what I have to do. So now I feel it and I own every single emotion before I go to have a meal. So whether I'm stressed or sad or I'm bored or I'm happy, I just think about how do I feel before I'm going to eat this meal. And it changes. It changes things for me. So it's been huge. Thank you. It's no longer, it's really hard because you listen to that little voice in your head and it's usually quite a negative one. So I think the Claim Your Food Freedom course actually gave me a positive spin and not to beat myself up so much and say that, I'm a loser, I can't lose weight, I can't do this, I can't do that. When you understand that it's your actual body, it's normal, intuitive, natural instinct, it helps you understand yourself a lot better. And that's for me was the bulk of the course what I came away with.
If you were to paint a picture for other women listening of how Jackie was before this 3-week journey and how Jackie is now 3 or 4 weeks after this journey, how would you describe both versions of you?
I think I was in this little numb zone before because there's a lot of media now on body acceptance. And I'm really interested in that component because I'm so done with dieting. But I think I was just kind of lost in the cookies and chips there for a while. You know what I mean? And just saying, well, it doesn't matter anymore. But it still matters because whether it's like trying to change me physically, it's the mental change that I really needed. Once that clicks, then everything else is going to be just fine. It's not that I have a physical problem. My problem is between my ears.
There's nothing wrong with you. That's what you took away from that.
No. And whether I'm 50 pounds heavier or I'm 50 pounds lighter right now, that's not the issue. The issue is coping with stress and not using food to cope with stress anymore.
That is a huge change.
It's a massive change. And, I hope we have this conversation a little ways down the road so I can tell you how it's going a month, 2, 3, 4 months from now.
Absolutely, because the work continue.
Absolutely, it does. It's kind of self-care, Stephanie. It's really about self-care instead of, like you said, self-sabotage.
Exactly, because the course deliver the skill set to cope differently.
Yes.
But I think you express it well, and I want people to know that, it's not a magical pill.
No.
You have to go and apply it.
Absolutely.
And practice with it.
Right. But I think it's like you said something in one of our meetings about how, you change this and everything else in your life is going to change. And it's so true because when you're dealing with food and eating or masking feelings, there's other things in there. It's not just about food anymore, right?
Have you seen some of those change in your life beyond food?
Right now, I'm feeding myself nutritious food right now. It's the barbecue season and everyone's into potato salad and all that kind of stuff. And I had a great green juice for lunch. And I went to Whole Foods and I spent way too much money on my lunch, but I think I'm worth it.
Yay.
Yeah. So that's where I was kind of at today. But it's just feeling it and owning that feeling before you go to do something and acknowledging it, even if it's a bad thing. My sister's dog passed away 2 weeks ago, suddenly of a heart attack. And I ate a thing of ice cream right in front of my husband. And I said, I'm eating with stress and sadness and I acknowledge it, but I am eating this whole container right now. And you know what I mean? It's like,
Where
yeah,
before you would have done it a different way?
just numb, not even paying
No.
attention. At least I knew why I was crying and eating ice cream at the same time.
Well, you were releasing the emotion.
Totally. Yeah.
So here's a last question for you. So we're very about the same age, in our mid 40s, early 40s. And there's a lot of women our age in our place that have dieted. As you said, you're done dieting, right? We've dieted for 15 and 20 years, and we invested time, energy, and money in all kinds of different programs.
Yes.
And now you're listening to this and you're hesitant to pull out your wallet again because you're like, how is this different? And is it going to be worth it to spend that money? What would you say to that woman?
You cannot not spend the money. Different world altogether. You know what I mean? Like, I've known you for a few years now, but just what you bring to helping people is astronomical. And you do it in such a professional, caring way. And it's just broken down into all those little components instead of just throwing all this information at somebody and telling them, this is what you got to do to be thin, or beautiful, or whatever. It's so important how you break it down to all those little small components. So, like, even the last one that we did, it was amazing because you could take that small little chunk and, you know, if I can be silly, you could chew on it for a few days, right? And think about it. And it was just awesome. I know I want to join your academy now, and I'm ready after understanding this last program that we did, the Claim Your Food Freedom. It's just phenomenal.
Thank you. And that was the intention, is to make it chewable.
Yes, chewable.
Because for most of us, we're overwhelmed with the idea of how we're going to fix ourselves because we think we're so broken.
Yes, it's overwhelming.
Right?
Yes.
So you're not broken. That's the message here from both of us.
Thank you.
And Jackie had
Nobody's broken.
Well, nobody's broken, but you had to learn that you weren't.
Yes. Yes. I still have to remind myself of that.
For sure. You got to rewire that brain, right?
Absolutely.
But if you can only take that piece away, if that's the only thing you achieve throughout that course,
yes,
I think
that's huge.
That's huge.
Huge. Huge.
Because being broken, it's like wearing, literally, for those that are not watching video, it's like wearing a pair of glasses and putting glasses on.
Yes.
Your entire life goes about differently because you think you're like broken and you're not enough.
Exactly, Stephanie. You said it. Yeah.
So thank you very much for stepping forward and putting yourself on camera.
You're so welcome.
And on audio, really appreciated that. And I can't wait to see you in the academy. Isn't that awesome? So this is stage 4. This is what comes out of being in action. This is the process, the ups and downs, and the result that can come when you actually take action. Now, we're not done. There's 2 more stages, stage 5 and 6. So stage 5, some of you are there. It's maintenance, meaning that you've successfully changed your behavior, and now it's a matter of maintaining it into your life, into the day-to-day behavior, into the different situations that happen, and relearning to engage with life differently, right? So you now, for example, if you've done Claim Your Food Freedom, you now understand the mindfulness, the breathing technique to ride the wave of your emotion instead of emotional eating. So the next time anxiety or stress comes in, you know what to do, you practice. It still feels weird, but you're still doing it. You're maintaining yourself, and you're graduate from learning the behavior. That's who I call my graduate. That it is from the graduate of Claim Your Food Freedom of the Academy. They're now practicing. That's why all my digital program are lifetime access. Because I know, based on my training, my clinical experience, that this is not stopping after 21 days. Like, it's not a meal plan here. This is new life behavior. So this is lifetime access. You're going to come back to it in 6 months from now. You may come back in a year from now and say, okay, I forgot that piece, or I'm struggling with that piece. Let's review the content and let's practice again. And this is where we get to stage 6. In the model that we're talking about, based on the researcher here, they call that stage relapse. I don't like that because relapse to me comes from the addiction world, which means you screwed up. That is not a very positive way of looking at this. For me, I call stage 6 life, because life is not linear. Here's what I mean. Life is designed to have its ups and its downs. Life is designed to be challenging at times. Life is designed so that you stumble and you learn to get back up. That's what life is. So stage 6 is going to happen to all of you. No matter how good you are in stage 5 of maintenance, there's going to be something that's going to make you stumble. But here's the thing. It's what you do in the stumble, in the low, that will bring you back to stage 5. It's how you see it. If you see it as a relapse and a failure, you'll likely stay there for a long time. But if you see your quote unquote relapse of stage 6 as, what can I learn from this? What happened that made me get here? And how can I come back up? Connection, that's what we call self-compassion in my course. Reach out to people to pull you back up. And very quickly, you're going to go back to stage 5, which is maintenance. Again, that's why my digital program all have lifetime access. So what can you do when you're stuck? First thing is to understand where you are on the range of stages and apply the tools that I've given you to the stages that you are and work on that piece to move to the next stage. So not all the solutions are perfect for everyone that is stuck. Depend where you are on the scale of change, right? So let me recap those stages. Pre-contemplation is complete denial. Not many of you are here, but you may have people around you that are there. The second stage is contemplation. It may be you. You're contemplating, but you're like not yet sure, and you're struggling with costs, not just money, but emotional costs and fears and Stage 3 is preparation. You got over the cost piece and you're starting to take small steps towards changes, but you're not committed. So you haven't put money out to commit yourself to a coach, to a structured environment, to learning. You're just like pedaling around, like reading the free stuff and taking the free stuff, but you're not committing. And then action is you got over that. And now you're committed. You're in a structured environment. You're changing, you're learning, you're full on into the process of transformation. Stage 5 is you've gone through, you've learned the skills, you've applied the skill, and now you're just going through life. Maintenance. Stage 6 is relapse. We don't like relapse, we call it life, right? Ups and downs, and you're going through the downs and you're coming back up because you're not expecting perfection, because perfection is not the reality of life. So these are the 6 stages. Understand where you are, rewind the podcast, and go back to my advice of what you should do at that point. All the links of all the tools that I've given you are all in the show note 155. So let's go back through the tool very quickly. Pre-contemplation, people that are in complete denial. These are the people you want to send them the foundational article from my website for free, just a link, and have them read that to you and say to them, if you want to talk about it, let me know. But you leave it at that, right? The second stage, contemplation, this is when you do the free stuff. You do the audio training, you do the Food Freedom Map workshop from next week. Everyone can do it, but if you're in contemplation, you can do it as well. You come and get the information to get over the whole cost thing. And if it's a money cost thing, all my programs are scaled that they're from free to less than $100 to like more money, right? And then 101 at the top with a lot more money, right? So based on the money thing, you can be on anywhere. And that's when you move to action, right? You're committing to a structure. You're committing to a teacher. You're committing to a coach. You're committing to actually making it happen, right? So these are the structured program, the Claim Your Food Freedom, This is my intro course, right? 97, you get the basics and you start practicing. And you also may consider going beyond the Food Academy, where you put yourself on the wait list for January, right? So these are all the tools based on the stage of where you are. I hope this helped you. That was a big teaching moment, but I think it's going to be extremely valuable. This is going to be something you can come back to as you evolve through the different layer of changes and say, okay, what should I do next? If it did help you, you've identified yourself on the stage, let me know. Reach over to me on Instagram DM, on Facebook, send me an email, leave a review for the podcast, right? So if you're, again, on iPhone, it's very easy. It's from your phone. You click review on your podcast app, and then you leave me a review. It's going to give me feedback, and it's going to let me know that it's actually helping someone out there. Now, we have a great show coming up, the next one. I'm preparing another great gem for you, which is the impact of poor body image on our food behavior. You don't want to miss this. Because for many of us, we think that we're going to fix our food behavior by shaming ourselves. We think that shame is the solution to the food behavior, which then will lead to weight loss, which then it'll be okay to like our body. That's you. There's a surprise for you. I'm also going to announce something new in relationship to body image, something I think many of you have been waiting for. One more thing. No, this is loaded with information, but we are looking for podcast listener who would like to come and do some live coaching with me. So back in the spring, I did a few shows where I had people as guests on the podcast and I was coaching them for free. And then the exchange was they giving me the ability of me putting that on the podcast. And I got tremendous amount of feedback on how helpful it was. And I know it is helpful because that's what we do in the academy, right? We do group coaching session and all the students agree that they learn as much from someone else being coached as them being coached. So I want to get some of you to submit your name, a little bit of your story, so I can coach you live. So if you're into that, again, go to the show note. There's going to be a link there. It's going to be a quick form to fill out your name and kind of stuff like that. And then I'll select someone in the upcoming episode to do some live coaching with you. For those that are in front of a computer right now, you're going to have to go to a secret link, stephaniedozzi.com/live coaching. It's nowhere on my website. It's a hidden thing. So if you cannot go to the show note, go to that link, stephaniedozzi.com/live coaching. That was an awesome episode. I hope it helped a few of you. Don't forget to let me know. I love you, and I look forward to see you on the next episode. Do you eat for other reason than hunger? Maybe eating because you are stressed, frustrated, bored, or because you think you deserve it. I struggled with craving, overeating, and even binging on healthy food, no matter what diet I was on. Keto, paleo, organic, whole food, nothing stopped it. And maybe you feel the same. Tired of dieting, over-exercising, and yet another fad program. Or maybe you're overeating and binging and wish you could just be a normal eater. I thought I was alone. I was sick and tired of being a victim of my food urges. Who wouldn't be? Do you feel stuck with your eating and body right now? I want you to know one thing. You are not alone. You aren't broken. If food hasn't been going the way you've planned, know this. It is not your fault. Sadly, most women keep repeating the cycle of yo-yo dieting because they rely on old strategy like restriction, discipline, and the worst one of all, willpower. Perhaps you believe in eating more intuitively and would love to trust yourself around food, but are afraid of trying because, honestly, you just don't trust yourself. Or worse, you've tried before and you fail. So that's why I want to peel back the curtain and show you exactly how I changed my relationship to food and the one of my client, going from overeating, binging, and emotional eating to food freedom. And quite frankly, it is completely different from anything you've heard before. Claim Your Food Freedom is a 21-day journey to dissolve the hidden blocks, the emotional blocks that keep you stuck, and finally stop sabotaging yourself with food. Claim Your Food Freedom is a 4-step mapping process that will take you from where you are now to food freedom. You see, everything will change the moment you are willing to see beyond the food and understand why you eat. It's about transforming why and how you eat so what you eat becomes easy, natural, and peaceful. Health, well-being, self-confidence, satisfaction, and success are all byproduct of you looking beyond the food to unlock your food freedom. Plus, I'll coach you on specific roadblocks that may get in the way from you being free from food. Probably the things that made you fail before. The constant hate on your body, the all or nothing attitude, aka perfectionism, fear of failure, or even shame. And lastly, time management. If you are ready to step into a new version of yourself that eats normally and is at peace with food and maybe even your body, head over to www.claimyourfoodfreedom.com and I'll see you on the other side.